So, Anas, welcome to the Illuminate podcast, the cast. We're so excited to have you on today's episode. So, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, pleasure to be on.
So, could you please share your educational journey leading you to your current role as a technology consulting engineer at Ernst & Young? What inspired you to pursue this field, and how has your position evolved since your previous role?
Yeah, so I studied at the University of Waterloo. I did chemical engineering there with management sciences. With that background, I worked in oil and gas field quite a bit. I've actually had an interesting journey where I've done work for certain oil and gas companies. I've done work for steel manufacturing. I've worked for Honda as an engineer as well. TTC, if you guys have ever traveled TTC. So I worked in all of these places. When I was about to graduate, I got a stint at Deloitte, and they needed someone who understood oil and gas for an ERP project. So that's how I got my shoe into consulting, and I wanted to try it after graduation. And hence I was able to secure a job at Capgemini Consulting. Then eventually I moved on to Ernst & Young, and that's what I do right now. So that's a bit of my background and move into consulting. When I was doing work at Capgemini, I was an oil and gas sort of technology engineer. So I used to work on projects where they would need input on how to design tech solutions for oil and gas companies. And I used to participate in that, but the oil prices went down and the business went down with it. So they told me either I could move to a different industry and contribute to that, or I could, maybe try and look for something else. So I wanted to try a different industry, and I did. So I work mostly in the insurance practice of my firm.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for bringing us along with that journey. And it's really interesting that the industry and its fluctuations had an effect on your career path and led you to your current role as a technology consulting engineer. So more on that specific role, I would love it if you could provide an overview of your day-to-day responsibilities as a technology consulting engineer, and what aspects of that job bring you fulfillment and satisfaction.
Yeah, so as a consultant, you wear quite a few different hats. I'm the lead solution architect on one of the products that we sell in the workers' compensation space. But overall, because we work in the insurance practice, you tend to deal with customer clients that are in property and casualty. So standard auto insurance, home insurance companies who people like you deal with on a daily, or whenever. Hopefully you don't get into collisions daily, but whenever you deal with them, you deal with them. So we design solutions for them. And I'm also the lead QA within my practice, who we do a lot of work with designing testing strategies for them to test the solution that we're about to put in. So for all of these companies, the goal of our practice in tech consulting is to develop solutions or tech solutions that will help them advance their business forward. So within the insurance space, this would be policy-based systems and claims-based systems. So we design those sorts of systems, and I take part in the design as well as the QA work. On top of that, I have some responsibilities with respect to our SaaS operations, so software as a service operations, as well as leading some of the training exercises for the members of my team. That, in a nutshell, is what I do. It sounds like it's quite a lot, but when you work in consulting, this is the norm. You have to contribute to different areas. You have to make sure that you are successful in different areas and making sure everyone else's life within your organization and your clients at the same time is made better. If you want to move outside of your practice, you can. If you want to go in internal only roles, you don't want to be client facing, you can do that as well. UI provides you, and most consulting firms provide you that level of flexibility.
Yeah, exactly, which can definitely make it easy to find satisfaction as well. I'm going to pass it off to Crystal to ask the next few questions.
Hi, Nas. Thank you so much for joining us. So my question to you next is, as a solution architect, and as you mentioned, a development and QA lead, could you describe some of the notable projects and what are some kind of significant challenges you encounter, and how do you ensure effective collaboration and successful project delivery?
A lot of insurance projects, obviously, that's the practice I work in. My main focus, and from a sort of a solution architect standpoint, is workers' compensation solutions. So I've done it for a couple of provinces and have a good amount of experience there. I know a lot of those solutions inside out. That's what I typically do. So leading teams in these areas is what you will typically see my role. So on the projects we engage in, if it's for workers' comp, I typically lead the full team. I will be leading the development work, the QA work, the solution design work. And on top of that, what I also do is to design the processes that you need in order to go about your software development lifecycle. So your software development lifecycle is typically collection of requirements, doing development work, and then testing the development work and handling any post-implementation exercises. So all of this work involves a lot of handoff. So you need to develop good structure within your team to allow you to do proper handoffs between individuals. So I develop the processes and the tools that we have to use in order to achieve a good software development lifecycle across our team members. What sort of key challenges you would face? Well, the handoffs are difficult when you're working with a number of folks. If you're not having a method the team is sort of regimented in to do on a day-to-day basis and do effective handoffs, do quality work, and have some methods to do quality work, they are empowered, but almost empowered in a guided way where they are guided by process when you are not there. That's the kind of thing that becomes challenging. And you have to be very good in your management principles to let your team work according to your methods rather than their own. So that can be challenging. Also, working with clients is difficult. So within the tech space, things change on a daily basis, quite frequently. Today you have AI. Yesterday, the big thing was web development, and blockchain was there as well. You don't see a lot of people talking about blockchain anymore. So because of the change in technology, you need to work with folks on the client side who are of the mindset of change. So what does this really mean? It's probably easy to have speaking to a C-suite executive or a CIO. And if you want to change their mindset, you can get them to change to, yes, I want to take on this new technology project and exercise. But what you ideally want from them is to accept that change is inevitable on an ongoing basis. And very few C-suite executives are of the mindset that change is inevitable and they need to move with the time when it comes to technology. So that becomes a very hard exercise to bring about that change in mindset within themselves as well as the organization that they're in. So that can be quite the challenge.
Sounds like there's a lot of cross-functional collaboration happening in this industry. And you mentioned AI and blockchain, so that leads into my next question for you. So apart from those challenges and adapting to change, what are some other emerging trends you have encountered in the technology consulting industry? And maybe in regards to AI or whatnot, how are you adapting to these changes? And what strategies do you employ to stay ahead in the rapidly evolving technology landscape?
Yeah, so the way to put it would be yes, to simply follow the money, right? Where the money is where you'll see a lot of change happening. For example, at the end of last year, this was reported in the news that 300,000 accountants have quit their job across the US. So why are accountants quitting, and why is that gap being left behind? So that gap has to be fulfilled by something, either by other individuals who are graduating or by technology bridging the gap between resources or individuals or professionals that need to join and the requirements of the company. So when it comes to emerging technology, you got to find out where the money is or where the requirement is and try and fit any emerging technology within that requirement. When it comes to AI can, what's been done by OpenAI is quite interesting. It can write code, it can read natural language quite well. So these sorts of technologies are quite useful, and to stay ahead of the game, you have to somehow incorporate these into your everyday life. For example, developers should use them to write quick tests if they want to test their code. If you want to come up with a design for capturing requirements or dealing with a certain difficult problem, AI can help you at least understand the basics. So the more you incorporate this into your everyday life, the better it would be. And that's the kind of way you should use emerging technologies within your internal team, which is for us EY. And also, once you learn it there, you need to take it to your clients and help them get better with it.
Yeah, it sounds like knowing how AI works is really important for people who wish to head into this field in the future. So, leading off of that question I just asked, your answer that you provided, in your experience, what are the essential skills, both technical and soft, that you had to develop to thrive in this fast-paced consulting environment?
Yeah, I'll talk about soft skills. In a lot of ways, soft skills are more important than the technical skills itself. I think individuals need to have confidence when speaking. Having a sense of confidence and building that confidence is very important. Your confidence should be backed by conviction in your work and good skills, obviously. A person can have great skills. If they don't have the confidence in their delivery to exhibit their skills, they will find it, not that easy to be the 1% in their industry. So that confidence is important. And you can improve your confidence by, and what I do is I listen to a lot of debates, right? Listening to a lot of debates, especially on topics that may be difficult, is very important because difficult topics will have difficult arguments, and you need to understand how to challenge difficult arguments. So the person who can make good arguments for what they are presenting is likely to be more successful than the person who's not doing that. And clients appreciate that. When you stand in front of the client and you're able to give a good reason as to why they should go with you, that's when they are truly impressed. And you need to deliver that with confidence. Having a good mindset to go about your everyday life is very important. So value truth, right? How to find truth. So truth would mean the best way to do certain thing in a given context from a professional's perspective. So having that sort of mindset is important. I think that really helps you in your everyday life, not just professionally, but also personally as well. When it comes to technical skills, it's like asking an investor actually to tell you what stock would you have invested in 10 years ago, because hindsight is 2020. From the perspective of technology, yeah, it's easy to say that, oh, we should invest our abilities into learning this type of language. For example, React is a good language to learn, or learning how AI works. But technology advances so fast that it will change very quickly. I think the core skill you need to have is what, in my industry at least, is what system design is about, how to go about designing systems and what each of those components are. So studying something like AWS is quite useful, I think. Azure systems and how they're designed. So cloud systems design is good to learn. What are the different types of technology stacks that are needed for different industries? Because knowing these would help you understand how different systems are designed for different purposes. If you don't know the language itself, any programming language, that's probably okay, but try and learn at least the simplest ones. I think all of these together will make you quite successful in the tech consulting industry.
Thank you so much for sharing. So for now, for the last few questions, I'm going to pass the mic back to Sophie.
Thank you, Crystal, and thank you, Anas, for those amazing insights. At Illuminate, we really value soft skills and advising youth on how they can acquire those. So in addition to soft skills, I would love to know if there's any particular resources or certifications that you would recommend to aspiring technology consultants, and which certifications hold high value in the field from your experience.
Resources, YouTube is a great resource. If you can, get access to Udemy. A lot of the courses on Udemy are also quite well structured, but YouTube is great, right? You have some great teachers who put up their content on YouTube. You can pretty much learn anything from there. So utilize something that is free rather than spend money on anything else. Companies are trying to move to cloud. So understanding that is not too difficult, and I think you can learn that. I think some of the language-based certifications are also good. Learning React, Ruby on Rails, or Python. But also, if you don't like that, what you can also learn is some basic QA. So ISTQB certifications are quite good. QA automation is quite good as well. My favorite one that I do is something around solution design, because I think learning how to design solutions and designing tech systems is an interesting business to be in, especially for those who like solving problems. Systems and software is very complex, and the people at the top of the tree are the ones that understand system design really well, not necessarily the ones who understand developing code really well. So any of those will be quite useful to you.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So we've covered soft skills that are required and certifications and resources for our listeners. So hopefully they can take heed of those. And lastly, our last question is also something they might benefit from. So Anas, if you had the opportunity to travel back in time and offer one piece of advice to your younger self in terms of career goals, what would it be?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to me talking about ask an investor what they would have invested in 20 years ago, right? I did chemical engineering. I moved into technology consulting, so quite the career shift. But it's been a good decision. I think being in the tech field is good. It is cyclical at times, meaning you could be one day working for Google, the other day you're looking for a job, right? But it's quite rewarding. And as long as you keep your skills up on a regular basis and essentially find the flow of money, where the flow of money is, you'd be quite successful. If I had known in the past that you got to look at where the money is flowing and find gaps that can be exploited by technology, I would have done more of that. Now I'm starting to do it in my last few years, but essentially look for gaps where something is needed. There's a requirement for a solution requirement. There's a problem that exists that you need to solve, and go ahead and try and find a solution for that problem. That's the best advice I could give.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. And it's really nice that you're able to reflect on your history and provide insight to those that have yet to explore that career and take heed of that and apply that to themselves. So that concludes our last question for you today, Anas. I just want to thank you again so much for joining us and for your time. And I really value your insight, and I'm sure our listeners will as well.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on once again.